So I've got all the updates on what's going on in Iran. I've got a real question about whether Republicans want to actually win anything, but I'm going to take us in a different direction to get started. I'm Tony Katz. The show is Tony Katz Today. Let's go do good things. Bring it up there, producer Landon. There are updates on what's happening in Iran, but I think there's a better question to be asked. And it has nothing to do with the war. It has everything to do with women. A weird offshoot story that has been sticking in my head ever since I shared the story of these Iranian women, a soccer team that was playing in a competition, a tournament in Australia. And they got knocked out of the tournament and they were afraid to go back home. One of the reasons they were afraid to go back home was because they did not sing the Iranian anthem. They were like, nah, no thanks. We're not going to do this. You have had the Iranian people being slaughtered by the Iranian regime since certainly 1979. Women treated horrifically for the past 47 years. Life not being anywhere near as good as it was before the Ayatollah. You have 30,000 plus protesters that were killed in just the last few months. You have women who will not sing the national anthem, facing punishments, including possibly death, denunciation from Iranian state media. Even though they sang the song afterwards, even though they didn't want to, and are afraid to go back home. Some went back home because they feared what would happen to their families. We have people in America who gladly hate America while they're at the Olympics and then come home without anything happening to them other than someone saying something not nice on social media, and they fall down and they cry and say, why is this happening to me? These women might get killed. Or worse, their families harmed. And this story has been sticking with me. This is an ugly story. And why is it an ugly story? Well, the New York Post beat me to the punch. Why isn't Motormouth Megan Rapinoe using her megaphone for Iran's female soccer team? Megan Rapinoe was the member of the U.S. women's team who was taking a knee for social justice, thinking she was Colin Kaepernick and equal pay, all the nonsense things. And she believes that men can call themselves women and play on the women's soccer team. The real conversation here is, where are the feminists? And why do they hate women so damn much? I don't want to hear it from women's groups that claim to stand up for women. You don't stand up for anything. You don't stand up for anything that counts, anything that matters. You're an unserious group of people. I can point to local stories where I live. I can point to national stories where things happen. There's a story out of one of these organizations, Queers for Palestine. Oh, holy hell. Do you know how stupid you have to be a part of a group called Queers for Palestine? How much you have to hate yourself and want your own demise? They were having these encampments and women were getting sexually abused in the encampments. Where were any of the women to stand up for the other women getting sexually abused? And the answer is nowhere. Nowhere to be found. The worst women out there are the feminists who claim to be standing up for women. They're not strong. They're not brave. They're not decent. They're not good. They are horrifying cowards. That's right, ladies. This man just mansplained how you're a coward. I'm going to do it again. I'll do it right in front of you. Pick the street corner. as I often like to say, and we'll have a lovely chat about how you don't give a damn about women at all. You're all talk and no action. These women can't go back to Iran. At least 5 have stayed in Australia. And Albanese, the prime minister, needed pressure from Trump. At least that's the way it looks. To say, all right, you can stay here. Trump offered up, hey, you can come stay in the United States. Where were the women to stand up for these women? How come that's not happening? In the entire conversation of Iran, and these people are like, oh my gosh, we can't be involved in another forever war. It's not a forever war. Would everyone grow up and stop being ridiculous? You not being able, I shouldn't say you, I apologize. It's not you, it's them. They're not able to control their emotions. So they scream forever war like everybody else has to say, okay, I guess we'll let the terrorist threat continue. Too dumb for words. Absolutely not. And we're not done with this mission until the regime is dead, until the money flows to terrorists stop, and until they can't hurt us for anything. Then hand it over to the Persians and say, go build a nation. I can't wait to start some trade with you. Looking forward to tourism in about 6 months when you sweep up some of the rubble. You know what? We're not nation rebuilders, but here are some brooms. And let the Persians go to work. They'll be fine. They built a civilization before the Islamic regime. They can do it again. Where are the women? Where are the ladies of The View to stand up for the abused women all over Iran and say they deserve better? Let us end this terrorism nonsense and let these women have a chance at a better life. I agree with the very concept that you cannot go to every nation everywhere. This was a Senator Rand Paul point. I agree with this point. You can't go to every nation everywhere where something horrible is happening to a certain group of people and make their lives better. It can't be done. That's adventurism. And of course, it is a financial impossibility, a logistical impossibility. There are bad actors the world over. But the bad actors who also want to terrorize us, harm us, kill us, and let's start with them first, at least. Let's handle that. And if we can make life better for the women and the men and the children, I say great. That's excellent. Megan Rapinoe is nowhere to be heard. Megan Rapinoe really thought she was being some kind of strong woman by saying to women, men can claim to be women, and it's okay if you lose your spot on the team because these men deserve it. It's not a feminist. That's a radical. That is a broken radical who should not be listened to, who should be proactively dismissed, who should not be put on a pedestal, who should not be raised up. That is the kind of woman you're supposed to say to your daughters, don't be like her. She hates you. Yes, little darling. I would call my daughter little darling. Why? Because I can. That woman hates you, doesn't think that you should be on an even playing field, and doesn't think that if you're being oppressed, she, who is not oppressed by any stretch, should be supportive. She doesn't believe in being supportive. I, for one, don't think you should support her. I, for one, don't think you should idolize her. There are women out there who do real work far better than anything Megan Rapinoe ever did. So why don't you just take down those posters? Because she won't be there for you when you need her. And she's proven it. She's proven it. Now, some will say, as I see some people in the chat room say, she should shut up and dribble. That's the expression, right? We don't want to hear from athletes. Shut up and dribble. I'm not a believer in shut up and dribble. I'm a believer in go about saying what you're going to say. But I'm going to notice when you are a cowardly loser. And these feminists are all cowards. All of them. Not standing up for the women of Iran on this soccer team. You're not standing up for women athletes. Let's pretend they were all named Brittany Griner. Would you be there then? What's the issue? What's the problem? What is the reason that these women don't get your love, don't get your respect, don't get your care? What is the reason? that some women get all of your passions and some women get none of your attention. What is the reason? Is it that you can't allow your humanity to go past your politics? If you stand up for the women in Iran, if you stand up for these women, you might actually be seen as being on the side of Trump or Republicans or those who want this regime ended so the United States can live a safer, better life. And you can't have that. Oh gosh, you can't have that. Is that it? Is that the reason? Your politics so overwhelm you, so control you, so consume you, Megan Rapinoe, feminists, that you can't even be human and recognize the horror that these women live in? You don't live in horror, Megan Rapinoe. You don't live in horror. You're a gay woman in the United States of America, and you are a superstar on the cover of magazines, and you've made cash. No one is trying to throw you off a building, and no one, through their own religious code, feel the parentheses around religious, the quotes, because it's a political system, not a religion, thinks that because of your transgression, you should be raped and or killed. You're not oppressed. What the hell is wrong with you? Who told you you're oppressed? Oh, you tell other people you're oppressed, and that's how you build reputation capital. Well, allow me to mansplain it again. You ain't oppressed, Megan Rapinoe. What you are is just annoying. And the bigger problem, because there are plenty of annoying people out there, the bigger problem is that you don't care about women at all. I am a bigger feminist than you because I love women. Love. Producer Landon, you understand what I mean by love? Oh, do you know what I mean? Are you sure you know what I mean? Love. How you doing? How you doing? Yeah. I care more about women than you. I care more about women than the so-called feminists who won't stand up for these women in Iran who did something more brave than Megan Rapinoe has ever done in her entire life. Taking a knee was not brave, Megan. Taking a knee, feminists, not brave. You think Nancy Pelosi taking a knee for George Floyd was brave? What kind of nonsense? She didn't take a knee for George Floyd. She took a knee because that's how she thinks about what stock she's going to buy next based on the insider information she got from Congress. Good on the New York Post. Why isn't Motormouth Megan Rapinoe using her megaphone for Iran's female soccer team? Why aren't women? They're asking the right question. It's a great question. And don't get me wrong, it isn't the top story of the day. The war continues. We're dealing with the Straits of Hormuz. The Iranians are dropping mines. We took out their ships. We have now taken out a whole class of warships that the Iranians have. And we've now given warning to the Iranians, hey, those ports there on the Straits of Hormuz, we're going to destroy those because that's where they have IRGC members trying to attack the tankers that are going through. We've got a lot to discuss. But these cultural happenings matter. And next time you get lectured to by these leftists who want to scream about misogyny and they want to scream about the patriarchy and a whole host of things, remind them of this. Don't ever be afraid to say, sit down. You're not important. You're not honest. You're not strong. You don't stand up when the moment calls for it. You stand up when it's easy. Well, anybody could do it when it's easy. I support these women of the Iranian soccer team. I wish them nothing but the best. And good on them for bringing more note to the absolutely horrible, horrible conditions of living under an Islamic regime that the Ayatollah and his brethren have put together. For our safety, we should dismantle it completely. And we have to, without any quit, Republicans. I'll get into that. But if it can help the women and men and children of Iran too, well, that's just great. Just another reason to do it. I'm Tony Katz, and this is Tony Katz Today. Welcome back, everybody. Tony Katz Today. The UN is having a meeting of the Security Council. It's on Lebanon and the conflict in the Middle East. Here's the question: do I care what the UN says? Do we want to share this? No? Yes? Nah, I don't think I do. I don't. No, no, I'm not sharing that. That's just more. That's more pain than anybody deserves. I love me too much, and so I will not. I will not share. I will give some updates on Iran. I've got that. Oh, and the Georgia runoff. Who the hell is the heck? Someone sent me a message and it just came across very, very weird. Sorry. Coming back in 30 seconds. Also, worth noting, Nancy Guthrie's still missing. What in the world? Okay, I'll do this. It seems that Senator John Cornyn of Texas has had a change of heart. He woke up in the morning and had himself an epiphany. And what he decided is that the SAVE Act matters more than the filibuster. Is that right? This is a short round of applause. I'm not 100% sure, but allow me to go with the story. Tony Katz. Tony Katz today. Good to be with you. Senator Cornyn, why the SAVE Act matters more than the filibuster. An op-ed that's in the New York Post. Now remember, this is Cornyn. Cornyn is involved in a runoff with the Attorney General of Texas, Ken Paxton, the former Attorney General, I believe it is now, for the Republican nomination to the Senate. Cornyn is the sitting senator. Well, the polling says that Paxton is above Cornyn for Texans, and that if Trump endorses Paxton, he's going to win by a country mile. And if Trump endorses Cornyn, Paxton might still well win. But Paxton said something fascinating. He said, hey, I want to be a team player. And if John Cornyn will vote for the SAVE Act, I'll back out of this campaign. I will drop it. Cornyn can be the nominee. That is one heck of a thing to say. Then all this polling came out that showed Paxton can win this with huge strides. He'll win it on his own, but if Trump endorses, it's going to be massive. So what does Cornyn do? He says, you know what? I believe that if the U.S. scrapped the filibuster, Texas and our nation would stand to lose more than we gain. My fellow conservatives and I have proudly used the 60-vote threshold to protect the country from all sorts of bad ideas and dangerous policies. But when the reality on the ground changes, leaders must take stock and adapt. Today, Democrats are weaponizing the Senate rules to block the Save America Act, to defund the Department of Homeland Security and hurt the American people, all to spite President Trump. But they say openly that if these same rules ever get in Democrats' way, they won't hesitate to rip them up. And Senator Cornyn continues, a rule is only a rule if both sides follow it. That leaves conservatives with two options. We can either unilaterally disarm or we can stand and fight. The answer is clear. We need to stand, fight, and win. Democrats started this fight. Now Republicans should finish it. Oh, well, look what Ken Paxton did. Now, where does this put John Thune? This the leader of the Senate Republican leader. Tight spot. My argument against ending the filibuster is that I don't think Republicans have enough lined up to make it happen. You have to have a bunch of pieces of legislation you want to get passed. You got to have the whip counts in the Senate and in the House. You got to be ready to go at a moment's notice, and then you got to go nonstop. Boom, 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 boom. You just got to roll over the Democrats. They have to not know what happened to them. I don't believe Republicans have that skill set, that logistical skill set. But does this put pressure on Thune to get rid of the filibuster? It does. The train might be very well leaving the station, and those not on it will be thrown under it. This is Tony Katz today. And I say this knowing that I'm a guy who might very well be thrown under it. Because I'm still, I get it. He's right. Still not there. And one could argue that I have a theory that is about fighting, and that you can utilize this to your advantage to win. The other argument is you can still utilize my theory, putting this obstructionism around the necks of Democrats, and still get rid of the filibuster and win. So, I by the way, I'm fully aware that I'm doing damage to my own argument. I know it. I've been working on this for months. How do I get myself into a place where I'm like, yeah, let's do this? And my problem does always go back to the logistical. You can't do just one thing. You got to have it all. Got to have it all. got to have it all. And we don't yet. But maybe you can only do what you can do. This is where I have my moment of doubt and faith, to quote the Rolling Stones. Any other moves there, producer Landon, on the circuit? A lot of free agency stuff. The Colts re-signed Daniel Jones, 2 years, $88 million, possible $100 million for him. And I asked the question out loud, why only 2 years? That's not a long-term deal. And the answer could very well be because we gave up first-round draft picks for Sauce Gardner, the Colts cornerback, to the New York Jets. We may be waiting until we get a first-round pick again. So let's just have a good stopgap. He's an $88 million stopgap. I would like to be an $88 million stopgap, please. That'd be great. I don't even know who that is. All right. I don't know who he is. He's talking to me about the Packers. Bunch of cheese. All right. So let's get to Iran and the latest that we have. Now we've got cyber attacks. All right. I think I got this. Also, if you live in the Midwest, I hope you weren't too affected by the storms that came through last night into this morning. The videos out of Kankakee in Illinois and other places, brutal, massive tornadoes here in central Indiana. Crazy thunderstorms, tornado watches. I lost a tree, hit the neighbor's fence. I'm told I don't have to concern myself with it because insurance will take care of it because it was an act of God. With all due respect, I'm going to call my neighbor and be like, hey, my tree hit your fence. We can fix the fence or we can rebuild it because I'm a good neighbor. And it's not that big of a fence. Hey, it's not my fault. God did it. Blame him. I so don't have the capacity to do that in any way. Back to the show.
Ranking member of the Budget Committee, I know you are requesting a CBO analysis on the cost of this war. The Washington Post is now reporting that the Pentagon estimates that early Iran strikes cost $5.6 billion in munitions in the war's first 2 days alone. How do you hope to follow the money, and what's your plan if the administration asks for more money to fund this war campaign?
Yeah, so first, the media had been reporting it was $1 billion a day. I said on your network a few days ago, whoever was saying that was wrong. It's clearly well north of $1 billion a day. Over $5 billion over the course of 48 hours would suggest it's $2.5 billion a day. The reality is, if you were to take that money and instead devote it toward healthcare, you would actually be able to extend all of the Obamacare subsidies, which would save the healthcare of 5.3 million Americans. So this administration is willfully choosing adventurism in Iran over providing for the health care of the American people.
That is the only a Democrat could come up with something that unbelievably daft. Representative Doyle here, this is just pure ignorance. We can't go about removing the threat because healthcare. subsidies for Obamacare, which Democrats like you told us was going to lower the cost of health care. Now we have to subsidize it. And so therefore, we can't take out the Iranian threat, the regime threat, the terrorist threat, because your Obamacare doesn't work. Brendan Doyle is the name of the representative there. Purely, I don't want to say the word. I want to bring myself down. I do find myself disgusted, guys, as you often do. And I try very hard not to be someone who loses their cool. But this is just too dumb for words. The argument is we can't walk and chew gum. We could only spend money on his pet projects of Obamacare, which doesn't work. And we can't spend money on projects that could work, like ending a terrorist threat, which also, we should be clear, affects the health of millions of Americans. These people cannot be voted in. They cannot be allowed to have power. They are simply incapable of being adults and of keeping the country safe. Tony Katz today, good to be with you. Well, they didn't lead us into war. Years of appeasement certainly led us into war. Are we all being honest with each other or not? You tell me which one it is. The latest is U.S. Central Command stating that Iranian ballistic missiles and drone attacks have dropped drastically. Admiral Brad Cooper, who runs CENTCOM, saying Iranian forces still continue to deliberately target innocent civilians in Gulf countries. They are still trying to hit other countries while hiding behind their own people as they launch attacks from highly populated cities in Iran. This is who they are. Hezbollah and Iran, as now reported, coordinated cluster bomb strikes on Israel in an escalation on Tuesday. The IDF had to know that with their attacks on Lebanon, this would be coming back to them. They're in the southern part of Lebanon, taking out Hezbollah. IDF started a wide-scale wave of strikes targeting Iranian terror across Iran, and the IDF said that Israeli forces have begun striking Hezbollah infrastructure in Beirut. Now, the president decided, hey, this is a good time to speak to the press. He's out there. This is, whenever he gets a chance to do a good chopper presser, he's going to take that opportunity. And so he's out there speaking to people who are assembled. People are visiting and they're getting tours. And he's like, hey, I'm the president of the United States. How you doing, everybody? And he's waving to people. He's checking things out. I'm trying to pull it up right here. And then he answered questions, as he is known to do. Now, the questions, of course, are going to be about Iran. They're going to be about where we are in this fight. People waving American flags, cheering every bit of the way. They all look like they're all in their 20s or maybe teenagers. They're talking to a couple kids, making their entire lives come true. Just start shaking hands. Maybe someone's going to cut his hair. Who knows? But that's a lot of young people who don't seem to be angry at the president of the United States. They seem to be fine with him. He's walking the entire rope line, saying hello, thanks for coming, glad you're here. You all look great. Don't forget to buy something from the gift shop. Now he's giving like a pointed tour. You see that? I built that. You see that? I'm going to build that. And you, at the end, what's the matter? Why you got such a bad seat? Can't deny that he does relate well, and this idea that everybody hates him, everybody can't stand him, everybody thinks he's terrible, no part of that is true.
No, I'm not. I'm not happy with the fact that they're not willing to give us what we have to have. So I'm not thrilled with that. We'll see what happens. We're talking later. We'll have some additional talks today. But no, I'm not happy with the way they're going. I don't like seeing him deposed, but you know, they certainly went after me a lot more than that. I don't like seeing him. Look, I like him, and I don't like seeing him deposed.
Howard Lutnick. What's your reaction to that?
Well, Howard would go in and do whatever he has to say. He's a very innocent guy, doing a good job.
So if they're asking questions to Lutnick, it could be questions about what he knew about Jeffrey Epstein and when. Howard Lutnick is the Commerce Secretary. And I have said that Lutnick has got a real problem because he said, I distanced myself from Jeffrey Epstein. I had no relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. I realized what was going on. But you and your family on some boat excursion on a yacht, let's be clear the kind of boats we're talking about, stopped by Epstein's Island to have lunch. A lot of people have resigned for a lot less. That's all I'm saying, Howard Lutnick.
What's your message to the Iraqi leadership? Well, I get along very well with the Iraqi leadership. Thank you.
Governor Britain posted on social media that they're planning to steal the 2026 midterm elections. In fact, he says the plan is already underway. How do you respond to Governor Pritzker?
Well, he's got to focus on crime in his state. The crime in his state's doing very badly. If we went and took care of it, we would do just like Washington, D.C. We have no crime. Memphis, it's down 82%. Louisiana, you take a look at Louisiana. What he should really do is focus on crime in his state because there's too much of it.
About Governor J.B. Pritzker, who is saying that President Trump is already working to steal the election. I thought it was wrong to have that kind of talk. Wrong to say that people stole the election. But the left does it all the time. Oh, Trump's stealing this, Trump's stealing that. Republicans want to steal this. Oh, they want the Save America Act, the Save Act, because they're trying to steal the election. I mean, Democrats are still on this idea that somehow, if you are a woman or if you are black, you can't figure out how to vote. Chuck Schumer took to the well of the Senate to once again make this preposterous claim.
On the SAVE Act, Donald Trump has given Republicans in Congress a ridiculous ultimatum. Help him thoroughly undermine our democracy, or he will bring all legislation to a screeching halt.
One thing you could say about Democrats is they know how to paint a picture. And one thing you could say about Republicans is that they ain't willing to paint a picture. This is how Chuck Schumer addresses the subject. This is how he just blatantly, willfully lies and doesn't care.
What kind of president is this? Sounds like a pouting second grader. Even though it's clear that the SAVE Act has little chance of becoming law, Donald Trump is still hell-bent on getting Republicans to ram this bill through the chamber because he thinks undermining the vote is the only prayer Republicans have in the midterms. Isn't that pathetic? Republicans think they're doing so bad that they must undermine democracy and prevent tens of millions of Americans from voting?
If you think that showing an ID is undermining democracy, you have no idea what democracy is. You shouldn't be allowed to operate heavy machinery. You shouldn't be allowed out of your house. You have no chance of surviving in the real world. You sure as hell can't be allowed to run a country. What kind of child makes this claim? The Chuck Schumer kind. The kind of guy who grills cheeseburgers and then puts the cheese on before the meat is grilled. Again, fearless in this.
Donald Trump has said it himself. He said if Republicans can pass the SAVE Act, it'll guarantee the midterms.
Of course Trump said that. What else is he going to say? What passing the SAVE Act will do, the Save America Act, what it will do is eliminate, to the best of our ability, the opportunities for fraud, which is what everybody should want. But Democrats don't want that. So what they favor is the opportunity for fraud. Why? There is only one answer that comes once you ask why. Back to the president and his chopper. He's getting on the helicopter there, the chopper presser.
No, I haven't. No, I haven't.
What will be next move if negotiations let down this Iran?
Well, we haven't made a final decision. We're not exactly happy with the way they negotiated. They cannot have nuclear weapons, and we're not thrilled with the way they're negotiating. So we'll see how it all works.
The president being vague on Iran. He's right. And I would almost argue that his response in so many of these ways, I think, hits people as old school. I'm not here to tell you what I'm going to do next. I'm not going to hint at my next move. I'm not going to draw red lines. I'm not going to do any of that. I'm going to move as I feel we need to move to end the enemy threat. And this has to do with whether or not Republicans are okay with winning. Because I have come to believe that there are a lot of Republicans not okay with winning. Not only in the social media groiper loser class set, but in Congress. Do we want to win? And this is about more than Iran. I will get to that coming up. Keep it here. I'm Tony Katz, and this is Tony Katz Today. And welcome back, Tony Katz. Tony Katz Today. Let's get to the comments, shall we? You are going to have to purchase a Von Riest there, Ken. Promo code Katz, K-A-T-Z. This is their quartz chrono. This is the chronograph right here. Let's see if it'll pick up. Come on. There it is. So it's a variety of colors and a variety of bands that you can choose from. So that's what I'm wearing here. I have the automatic chronograph, which is definitely a more expensive watch. Mine's in green. Love it. And then, of course, I have two of the Hanoverians. I have one of the Einheits, and then I have the black on black Munchner, which is a Swiss mechanical. That's you got to wind it, but it's a great timepiece. And they're all assembled right here in Indiana. PA Jewelers in Brownsburg is the authorized dealer. I would go there. If you are close to town, I would go there because they've got the full lineup. But you can always go online, and they'll honor the discount. If you tell them, they'll honor the discount. But you can always go online. You can always go online and make that happen. And you go to Von Riest. Super easy to do. Do I even have a photo of the Von Riests? I used to have photos, but I moved all the. Oh, here's one. So this is like what I've got on, just a different version of the quartz chronograph, right there. So that's another good one. Now that's Indiana colors and everything else. So check it out. You don't have to get the Indiana colors. You can get anything you want. It's yours. Whatever makes you happy, boo boo. Just that easy. Just tell them I sent you. That's all you got to do. Done and done and done. I do want to get into the Abby Phillip stuff. I will do that. Jill Biden wrote a book, View from the East Wing. Look at you, producer Landon, throwing shade. No, she didn't. Jill Biden wrote a book, View from the East Wing, a memoir, is coming out. Who's buying her book? Tony Katz. Tony Katz say, I'm curious. I mean, producer Landon was going through chapters. Chapter 15, favorite ice cream flavors for your husband. Chapter 16, how to lose an election in 107 days. Chapter 1, from babysitting to the Oval. No? Too soon? Chapter 2, passing the sniff test. I mean, if we're going to do this, producer Landon, we're going all the way. No, you see, that's 2 on the nose, son. That's 2 on the nose. Chapter 3 would be nothing about Hunter Biden and cocaine. That would not be the way to approach that. That's so you gotta don't you don't want to go for the easy stuff. What makes it funny is if you get a little esoteric, right? Chapter 9, running cabinet meetings is easier than you think. So there's a lot. I want to know who buys the book. And then when you take a look at the cover, and I'm going to get yelled at for this, fine by me. I want to know who was in charge of the airbrushing of this photo. Ladies, it's okay to get older. It is. Don't pretend that your face is not your face. Now, that's a personal thing. I've had this conversation with my wife. I have no issues with plastic surgery. You do what you want to do, but don't touch that face. It's been a lot of years, and I want a lot more years, and that's what I want to look at. Don't make me look at somebody else's face. I don't want that. Keep your face, ladies. This is Tony Katz today. By the way, that is a real conversation I've had with my wife. Don't make me look at a stranger. I don't want it. That's not what I signed up for. I signed up for forever. And it has not been easy. I mean, I take it back. In the beginning, it wasn't easy. Partially because I really had no concept of what it meant to be a husband, and I had my own mental issues, the depression and being suicidal, and all that. Not easy to build a relationship with that. But it all got better. But the one constant is, man, I really like looking at her. I like it a lot, and I don't want that messed with. So don't mess with that, please. Not at all. All right, I have to do something. I was asked to do something business-wise. So hold on one second. All right, perfect. Okay, good. Sorry. Am I the only person who has ever had that conversation with their spouse? How could you have had that conversation with an ex before? You're 12. You know what I mean? It's just it. The desire to somehow thinking that you're going to make it all better. What's wrong? What somebody else says is wrong? Good Lord. No. Don't change a thing. All right. We are in commercial break with the radio show, so we'll be in commercial break here. So hang loose, kick back, relax, and we'll get back to the show in just a little bit. You're in a good spot, guys. Appreciate you being here. Be right back. Welcome back, everybody. I'm Tony Katz. The show is Tony Katz Today. Now have the clips of Trump answering some questions. See how that sounds. So I'll hit some of those right there, and then I've got three more things. So we got a lot going on. A lot of good stuff happening. Oh, the UN Security Council is done with their meeting, so we're all safe now. The president is heading to Ohio and then Kentucky. I find it just rude he's not coming to Indiana. He could have stopped by the studio. We could have had a Diet Coke, order a couple of Big Macs. Oh, would have been a pleasure. Right? Could have talked golf, which is I could have asked one question, then he would speak for 3 hours about his golf game. And for those who are asking, it's not, I don't know if I still have allergies, just some remnant. But we did have these storms come through. And I did lose a tree, so I was just staring at it. And so I walked out there to be like, I mean, because the tree came down from the trunk. Like it wasn't just like it fell over from its weight, and then the roots kind of come up, like it got too soggy. No. From the trunk, just severed. What is that all about? And it's very obvious to me that the tree was dead, for at least from the inside, because it last year it had leaves. So I would not have thought that there was anything problematic with it, but it's very obvious it was dead from the inside, and there was just a good wind, and that's all it needed. I'm just glad it happened when it happened, and not when people could have been out there, people doing work, my family outside enjoying. So happy it didn't hurt anybody. Anyway, we've got a radio show to do. I have a very unfortunate theory. And my unfortunate theory comes from watching Republicans and asking whether or not they want to win. Now, you might say to me as a rational person, win what, Tony? And my response to you is going to be, correct. You could add anything in there. I don't think they want to win. Because they sure as hell don't act like people who want to win, do they? Tony Katz, that is me. The show is Tony Katz Today, live streaming on YouTube. Just go to Tony Katz on YouTube, youtube.com/Tony Katz. Subscribe, and there you are. Find everything at TonyKatz.com. Get in the chat room. It is a very interesting place. One chat room, chock full of trolls. The other chat room, the finest Americans and people around the globe who want to be together, want to connect, and maybe make a baby. I just threw that other part in. If you want to, go right ahead. You're consenting adults. Don't tell me. Just name it after me, would you? Boy or girl, Tony? Perfect name. I'm saying that it sounds like Republicans don't want to win. Whether we're talking about Iran, whether we're talking about the midterms. I brought this up the other day regarding what's happening with Homeland Security and the lack of funding for the Department of Homeland Security. And Democrats still favor not funding it. They still say we're going to keep it shut down. We're not going to fund Homeland Security until what? Until what? When are we going to fund this? I mean, we got to come up with a reason. They already fired Kristi Noem, so what's our reason? Until the Republicans promise. What are they? What are they being bad guys? What do they have to? They have to promise not to have ICE agents near polling places. They have to do what now? That's right. They can't have ICE agents near polling places or near hospitals. No, just can't have it. The moving of the goalposts. Very, very unique stuff. And I was on Newsmax earlier today, and it came up why won't Democrats take the win? Now, the question wasn't asked to me. It was asked to somebody else on the panel. Nice enough guy, young guy, nice enough guy. And he gave an answer, and I was disagreeing with the answer, but I didn't get a chance to engage the disagreement. And it's not that his answer was problematic. His answer wasn't rude or far afield, but rather his answer did not cover what it is that the Democratic Party is all about. And what the Democratic Party is all about is utilizing their opportunities to their advantage. And they have absolutely no desire, no want whatsoever to not take advantage of an opportunity when an opportunity comes up. They're going to take advantage of every opportunity they have. When you see, for example, here was I think this is it right here. This was the this was the moment on Newsmax. I think this was it earlier today.
Of DHS employees are going without pay, and critical DHS priorities are going unfunded. Will this be the week that Democrats actually get serious? I hope the answer is yes.
Now, I will tell you, I was already fuming when I heard John Thune speaking like that. So I had the same issue with Speaker Mike Johnson the other day. That is not how one wins, and it leads me back into this place. I hope will this be the moment where Democrats get serious? I hope so. That is not how you talk. That is not the talk of a fighter. And so Luke Ball is his name. Nice enough guy. I don't know him personally. He was asked the question by the host, Shannon Cake.
Luke, help me understand what the political play is for Democrats here. Why don't they claim a win with all those changes made to DHS and then push through the funding and claim a win there too?
I wish I could offer much more insight on Democrats on Capitol Hill, but their logic seems to elude me. It eludes a lot of the American people because they've been through this once before, and they know that ICE and the Border Patrol is funded. They know that the things that they are railing against continually are not even being held up by the DHS shutdown and the funding that's not going to them right now. In fact, it's only endangering the American people. And so I think they just simply don't have an alternative message heading into the midterms except anti-Trump and anti-Republican.
Now, if you were with me at Trump 1 year later, I made this exact point. If you take a look at what Democrats are going to run on, which is ICE, which is authoritarian, which is Epstein, what these things have in common is Trump, not one of them is a policy. They have no policy to run on. But the question that was asked is, why aren't Democrats taking the win? It's because Democrats know how to take and exact every amount of pain possible to get the maximum. Now, very often they overplay their hand, but they are not afraid to try. You already got rid of Noam. You've already basically capitulated on Name the Thing. Why can't they get this from you as well? They move the goalposts. No, now this is the most important thing. I thought this was about Noam. It was never about Noam. That was a fait accompli. You had to get rid of Noam. But this thing over here and not having ICE at polling places is the most important thing ever. We've always said so. East Asia was always at war with Eurasia. This is how they act. And the problem here is that John Thune wants to look good in a suit and make silly statements on the Senate floor. My statement yesterday, my argument yesterday was that every single Republican senator should go back to their state, go to an airport, start handing out bottles of water to the people who have been waiting online in TSA for hours, and apologize for the fact that Democrats won't fund the Department of Homeland Security and these TSA agents aren't getting paid, and that's why the lines are long. And I am so sorry that Democrats are doing this to you. If only Democrats would go out there and actually fund the Department of Homeland Security, where is the fight? Of course they should make this maneuver. What kind of person would say, well, that's a terrible idea. Why would you do that? What are you doing now? You think it's working? You think you're going to get your funding? You have to lay every delay. You have to lay every death. You have to lay every piece of damage at their freaking feet. Why is it that Republicans act like they don't want to win? Why is it that every move they make, they act and perform and engage like they don't want to win? And so I've started, and people have done this before. I'm not first to this. Republicans have a real problem with winning. I apply this to Iran. When I heard this commentary from Josh Hawley, the senator from Missouri. Josh Hawley, to me, has been an outrageous letdown. Outrageous letdown. And Josh Hawley is on with Jesse Waters.
President is going to look for an off-ramp or keep going?
Jesse Waters. I've never had a conversation with Jesse Waters. Zero issue with the man. We might agree on things, we might disagree on things, whatever. I didn't particularly enjoy this conversation and his presentation, but there could be other ones that I loved, right? Fine. Same thing's true with how he could see the radio show. But it gets to a moment where Senator Josh Hawley, Missouri, is discussing this idea that when it comes to Iran, we've already won. We've already won. And I'm asking, what are you talking about?
Well, I think that he's achieved his objectives the way that he's laid them out. And you just put it beautifully, Jesse. I mean, what is there really that's left to do that we haven't already done? I mean, we have demonstrated to the world and anybody who's watching, by the way, that we have overwhelming military superiority and we know how to use it. We have totally destroyed forever their nuclear program. We have destroyed their ballistic missiles. We have destroyed their Navy. I mean, this has been a total success in whatever it's been, 11 days. And I thought the president's remarks last night that he could declare victory today and it would be a 100% victory. I think it's true. I think we ought to say to our heroes, thank you for a job well done. This has been absolutely amazing. It's been astounding. It's been historic. And now it's time to declare victory.
But you're not victorious, Senator. What are you claiming victory on? We took out Navy. We took out hardware. We took out the Ayatollah. All true. Absolutely, positively true. We did indeed do those things. Today, we learn that an Iranian-linked hacker is tied to a cyber attack on a U.S. company. You have got hits. You have got mines that got dropped into the Straits of Hormuz. You have still attacks on Israel coming from Iran and coming from Hezbollah. You have a certainly damaged leadership, unquestionably, but not eradicated. And President Trump told the protesters help is on its way. What is this conversation that we should walk away? Oh, Tony, you're a warmonger. I'm in favor of finishing the job and then walking away. Is it finished? Why in the world would a senator be saying on national television, yeah, it's cable news, but you know the difference, well, we're done here. We're not done here. We're not done here. Oh, he's accomplished all his objectives. We can go now. Why would you? What is it with Republicans? And then you take a look at the Groyper loser class, all these social media people. It's a forever war, and how dare we be attacking a nation that never did anything to us? What a lie that is. Does the Groyper loser class really have that much of a hold on the members of Congress? Because the Groyper loser class is not real life. Real life is, do we want a regime that is the key supporter of terrorism that the House and Senate voted on? Making that statement, only Democrats were opposed. Do we really think that that regime to any extent should be allowed to exist? That's winning? That's not winning, that's crazy. That is failing. That is purposefully walking away. Why in the world would we do that without having complete and total victory? President Trump was asked about this in that press conference they had by the helicopter.
Can you declare victory in this war if the supreme leader remains the Ayatollah's son?
I don't want to comment on that. I don't want to comment. But I will tell you, I just spoke with various countries, the leaders of various countries. You'll have a list. And they said they've never seen anything like it. We have, and I built it during my first term, and I used it. I didn't realize I was going to use it this much, but we have the greatest military in the world by far.
We do have the greatest military in the world by far. It's unquestionably true. And what we have shown the world should frighten them, and I'm down with that. I don't need to have the big parades, and I don't need to show off the hardware. If we're going to engage, I want to engage so fully and so completely. I want to so overwhelm the opponent that the opponent and everyone watching is afraid to look us in the eye the next time they see us. That's just me. I think Republicans are afraid to win. Why in the world are you afraid to take on this fight to its finality? Don't be. Why are you afraid to take on Democrats where they are and lay the shutdown at their feet because it's their fault and be screaming about how they're not paying a TSA, how families are going to starve, how Americans are going to die, and quite literally go and tell the people right where they're suffering, Democrats are doing this to you? Why not? You won't message, and now you're afraid to finish the fight when you've come this far? It's the weirdest thing in the world. It's the weirdest thing in the world. It's silly. It's cowardly. It's nonsensical. It is not where the people are. It is where the Groyper loser class is. But that's not how you run a country. Let them drop and run the country. Fight the fight and win. Maybe then you'll have a chance in the midterms. This is Tony Katz today. All right. Now, let me just answer the question really quick. Wait till you learn that, first of all, you can call me any name you want. I don't care. The Groyper loser class is afraid to fight. And if you're afraid to fight, you can't ever win. You can't keep a country safe. And with all due respect, just go sit in the corner. Let the men take care of this. Because you can't. You won't. I didn't say go here, there, and everywhere. We're engaged in this. Trump already did it. Whether you like it or not doesn't matter. So end it. But you end it the right way. You want to live in a fantasy world and you call people neoconservative? Fine. What does it matter? Maybe when it comes to foreign policy, they were right, and you silly little Groyper loser classers are wrong. Maybe on this you're wrong. Maybe where we would have a level of agreement as a nation is that we can't go everywhere and do everything. Maybe we shouldn't, and maybe we should step back here and step back there. But we don't take out the chief sponsor of terrorism that has harmed Americans, that is a threat to America. If you get your news from Tucker and Nick Fuentes, you don't know what you're talking about. You're not well-rounded enough and capable enough to engage in honest conversation. You sure as hell aren't where Americans are. So go ahead, go with your name calling. You don't have it. And that's the argument. If the political right is going to listen to you, they're never going to win again. It's weakness. Don't you get you're weak? We get you're weak. You're weak. That's all. Nothing more, nothing less. And my advice is stop. Stop being weak. And when we take it out of Iran and we go to the DHS funding, now we're going to argue that Republicans shouldn't fight and tell Democrats that they're going to get people killed because they won't fund DHS. That's wrong too. Good Lord. There comes a moment where you have to look at all these things that you're opposed to and say, my gosh, I'm the problem. Because you're the problem. The GLC, the Groyper Loser class. Now, maybe there's a better name for them. And, oh, they're going to be mad at me, and they're going to yell at me, and they're going to send me all sorts of nasty emails. Whatever. I'm just glad we could work that out, kitten. Just here to help. Oh, and if you've got a better idea, I'm all ears. But if the idea is do nothing, not finish the job in Iran, not put this shutdown around the necks of the Democrats, well, I'm not interested in the weakness. Not at all. Not in the slightest. I'll pass. All right. So I'm not going to have enough. Do I have enough time for that? No, I'll hit that in the next. That's what I'll do. I didn't really get into the cyber attack, so I do want to. And then I've got this polling. By the way, the polling, 53% of voters against military action in Iran, 40% support it, which you can also attribute that to President Trump not making the case clear, which he's done on numerous occasions. It's a real blind spot for him. Real blind spot. Anyway, we'll get back to the show. You know, I was discussing the latest about Iran and some things that were happening, but I wanted to make sure I went over them with just a little bit of depth. So News Nation reporting that a cyber attack was carried out on a U.S.-based medical equipment company called Stryker, Stryker. This, according to the Wall Street Journal, disrupting operations for thousands of employees who could not access company systems. So there's a group, Iranian linked, claiming responsibility for it, saying that this was a retaliation, quote, for the brutal attack on the Manab school and in response to ongoing cyber assaults against the infrastructure of the axis of resistance. This girls' school that got hit by a missile, and they're still asking Trump about it. There's still investigations going on. People want to say, well, this is all about America did this and they bombed the school. We got to get in there and we got to check. And if we did it, we got to owe up to it. Plain and simple. Absolutely. Will we find out that the Iranians in this school were launching missiles from it? Also very, very possible. So you have first this cyber attack. Then you have Iran targeting commercial ships across the Persian Gulf, the Dubai airport, and oil facilities. So they are still able to hit drones. Now, they're 92% reduced from when the war started. And I do call it a war, like I call it regime change, because we should honestly discuss what these things are. They are 92% down in their firing of missiles and in their drone capability. They need to be 100% down, so they have no capability whatsoever. So they are still hitting targets. They are still able to get at those they want to get at. And then comes this polling, and I'm going to dig into this more. I have a conversation with Noah Rothman coming up that you're going to want to hear from National Review. Quinnipiac shows that 53% of voters are against military action in Iran, while 40% support it. Now, this I attribute to President Trump not properly, just like he did it with the economy and tariffs. And we talked about it here, and we got vilified for it. We know about things going on because, well, we're a part of the show, right? We're paying attention. Not everybody is. They're living their lives. You do have to sometimes make a case to the American people, not to other nations. Hey, here's what's happening, and here's what we're doing, and here's why we're doing it, and here's the result we're going for, and we're going to do this, and this is going to happen. You got to sell the story. Trump doesn't always do that. This is Tony Katz today. It's true, he doesn't. So it's very important to note those things. All right. So I've got that. Now I've got three more things. Here's the Quinnipiac poll, by the way, where a lot of that is based on. Oh, no, shoot, I only put it in. There we go. I'll put it everywhere so everybody has access to that. Okay, that is nothing to me. Then we've got, I just did that. I'm not going to do that again. I've got this, I've got this, I've got this, and I already did that. Don't need that. I've got this. And where are we with oil prices right now? $86.58 barrel of West Texas crude, Brent crude, $91.53. Still way too high. Just so we're clear. Handled that. I don't need to look at Joe Biden's face anymore. Don't make me do it. So here is Hospice. And then the weather. Oh, yes. That's right. Attacked on the streets of San Jose for speaking Hebrew. Oh, yeah. If the Groiper loser class hated me before, wait till they get a load of this. Everybody likes my hair. What are you talking about? So the latest, this has been going on for a little while now. The latest trolling maneuver is to talk about my hairline. Guys, this is what it is. What do you want from me? You think does it matter? This is what it is. This is my hair. I don't know how people think the troll class thinks that it's going to change who I am. The only way you can change things is by presenting things logically. That's it. The only way you can get me to change my mind is show me the data. Little insults are just weird. Very, very weird. Now I've got the IEA. That story is worth noting. Let's see. I had something else to get to. Coming back. Excellent. 3 more things to get to. Tony Katz. Tony Katz today. Find everything at TonyKatz.com. Stories that should be front page, but aren't necessarily. We talk about the oil prices going on out there because of the hit against Iran, because these tankers will not go through the Straits of Hormuz. And President Trump has been very, very clear. These people don't have a Navy. I don't know what's preventing you from doing so, but you should be sending tankers through the Straits of Hormuz right now.
Are you talking to CEOs of various oil companies, encouraging them to use the Strait of Hormuz?
Yeah, I think they should. I think they should. I think they should use my opinion, look, we took out just about all of their mine ships in one night. We're up to boat number 60. I didn't realize that big a Navy. I would say it was big and ineffective. But every one of their ships, just about all of their Navy is gone at the bottom of the sea.
But they still have launchers, and that's still creating issue. And it's why I have said I am totally fine with the military escort. Why not? You have to get these people to believe that everything's going to be all right, and you actually have to provide the safety. That's part of the gig. You start the fight, it's part of what you knew was coming. Everybody knew this was coming. Let's not be silly. The IAEA, which is the International Energy Agency, 32 member countries, agreeing to release 400 million barrels of oil to address the supply disruption. Largest release of the stockpiles in the history of the IEA. Europe, North America, and Northeast Asia. Japan saying they're willing to release oil stockpiles as early as next week. Well, that is going to certainly change some things. Not as much as free-flowing the Straits of Hormuz. Then you have news that Chubb, the insurance group, is going to be the lead underwriter for an insurance program led by the U.S. Development Finance Corporation. And this is to say to ships, hey, we got you covered for losses. Let's go. Let's go. Send the oil. So moves are being made to get that oil flowing again. Then there is the story out of CBS News. CBS News investigations saying we visited ground zero for hospice fraud. And you say to me, hospice fraud? Yeah. That's Los Angeles, California. And they proceed to share what it is they found about hospices in one building, geographic clustering, low patient accounts, the billing. And so let's go through some basics of what it is they discovered. They discovered that there are about 1,800 licensed hospices in Los Angeles County, California, more than 6 times the national average based on the senior population. It's a lot of hospices, possibly way too many. Then CBS News discovered that of those 1,800, 42% or 742 of them still operate throughout Southern California, despite having multiple signs the state has outlined as indicators of fraud. So there's 742 that are known to have some connection to fraud. Nearly 500 of them operating within a 3-mile radius. This 3-mile radius is in the San Fernando Valley. So just over the 101, on the east side of the 405, this is an area known as Van Nuys. So between the 405, and by the way, I'm saying that right. In California, it's the 405, the 5, the 101. Everywhere else, it's 405, 5, 101. There it's the. Van Nuys has 500 hospices. They went a little further. There are 137 hospices operating along a street called Van Nuys Boulevard alone. Now, I used to live in Southern California. I have driven down Van Nuys Boulevard more than once in my life. I'm trying to think of what other kind of street I could provide as kind of like a general indicator. So have you ever taken Pennsylvania Avenue from the White House to the Capitol? 137 hospices. 137. 89 are registered to a single building. It's Minnesota all over again. Everybody knows it's fraud. Everybody knows that it's fraud. Under the nose of Governor Gavin Newsom, under the nose of Mayor Karen Bass, under the nose of everybody. Billions and billions of dollars. Medicare, Medicaid, home health services, hospice. How much money are we spending? I'm never going to listen to anybody tell me about healthcare numbers again. Until you remove all of this from the data, don't tell me about the cost of healthcare. Maybe we're doing great once you take away the fraud, once you take away the grift. What can we be doing with this money? If you had this money, would you ever have a homeless veteran again? No. Could you pay all the student loan debt for every nursing student in America? Yes. I'm in favor of both of those things instead of this. Now, I'd rather just the people being able to keep it. I'd rather pay down the debt. But I am in favor of doing the other things, not giving it to this fraud. That story just now blowing up. And then there's the story out of San Jose. And I have said this before about your place of worship. I have said it to Jews, my people, my people. I've said it to Christians who clearly understand that you have to be prepared. You are a soft target in your place of worship. Buy guns, buy ammo, and get trained. And any rabbi that says you can't carry a gun in the synagogue, fire that rabbi or quit, because they ain't worth a damn. I would say this to any rabbi anywhere. You carry a gun when you're in services. Friday night, Saturday morning, you have your firearm ready to go when you're in church. They're soft targets, and they are indeed targets. You are out of your head if you don't. And anybody who says otherwise, dismiss those people as the little children that they are, because they are. One should be willing to protect themselves and the ones they love. The story is in San Jose. This is how it's reported. You had two people, as reported, Israeli Americans. And they're in front of a restaurant. San Jose's Santana Row. I don't know what Santana Row is. And they're speaking to each other, but they're speaking in Hebrew. Okay. And then three guys attack them. Three guys walk up to these two guys speaking Hebrew to each other, and the three guys attack them. There are people outside sitting and eating, and they all just watched. No one got up to help. Now, some people physically wouldn't be able to help. Some people are just losers. These guys then ran off. Now, the San Jose police said that detectives at this time, quote, have not located evidence indicating the assault would meet the elements of a hate crime. As you know, I am not a believer in hate crimes. I don't think a crime is more of a crime because it happens to this group or that group or this characteristic, etc. If 3 guys attack 2 guys, wherever it is a crime. And you need to find those people and you need to arrest those people. My point is, even though I don't believe in hate crimes, I don't believe a crime is more of a crime because it happens to a certain group. I think that's really an ugly thought. That is different than whether or not things happen to people in specific groups because of specific things. And if Jews don't think they should walk down the street being prepared to protect themselves and defend themselves, as more and more people are ginned up to the bigotry and the anti-Semitism, well, then those Jews are stupid. And I'm sick and tired of stupid. And I can't believe I'm actually using the word stupid, considering I spent the vast majority of my career saying that the word stupid and dumb end conversation, and I try to avoid them with everything in me. But at some moment, one has to say, this is just ridiculous. Fakakta crazy nuts. Start being prepared. People think they could just attack you in the middle of the streets because you're Jewish? Well, then you better be prepared to do something about it and go get trained. I am not guaranteeing safety if you have a firearm. I just want you to have a chance. And if you don't want to carry a firearm, but you want to carry something else, go right ahead. You want to go get trained in Krav Maga or Jiu-Jitsu or whatever, go right ahead. But stop walking down the street like you think everything's going to be fine, because ain't nothing fine. It's really a message for all Americans. If you have a class of people, a group of people who have been told for forever now that you, because your political beliefs are a threat to women and a threat to democracy and a threat to freedom, eventually people hear that enough and they absolutely believe that they have to do something about it because you're a threat and they're allowed to protect themselves from the threat. There's a group of people out there on the left that believes punch a Nazi. Well, who's a Nazi? Anybody I disagree with is a Nazi. Oh, gosh. They have internalized the violence, they believe in the violence, and they think that violence against those they disagree with is founded and warranted, and they feel pious about it. And I think you should be prepared to fight against that. Do we want the violence? No. Do we have to stop supporting those things? Absolutely. And I would really appreciate if the Democratic Party would do that. But at all moments, you have to be prepared to protect and defend yourself. So go get it done. But to my people, hello, Jews. How are you? Tony Katz here. Aron Yisrael Ben Label, in case you were asking, the Hebrew name. Buy guns, buy ammo, get trained. If you don't, you're crazy. And any rabbi who says no, fire him or her. They ain't worth your time. And they're okay if you get hurt or worse. That is not what a leader should want. I'm Tony Katz. Wow. Yeah, it's really good work in the trolling department today. Protect and defend yourself. How dare he say protect and defend himself? That is someone in the chat room actually upset that I am making this argument. That is spectacular. Spectacular. Glorious. How dare you want people to protect themselves is the best. Is the best. Hey, totally anonymous troll in the chat room. I have a whole radio show that I do with this, so it's more than 9 people. But I agree. On when it comes to the live stream, we don't have massive audiences. We just keep going, man. We just keep building. It's bigger than it was a year ago. Hopefully, it'll be bigger a year from now. So, love the comment. Doesn't do anything to me. Have a nice day. You see, so if your synagogue has a security team, I think that's great. Churches do this all the time, and they are so right. They absolutely have a security team. I don't see this in synagogues, and I want to. I absolutely want that. Has to happen. You have to be prepared. And there are people really opposed. How dare you bring that to services, to Shabbat? What are you talking crazy? What are you talking crazy? And I see people who kind of mock the commentaries, and I laugh out loud. How does one mock, hey, don't forget to protect yourself? I got Democrats telling soldiers not to listen to the commander-in-chief. Somehow that's good. I say utilize the Second Amendment and get trained. Oh my gosh, he's so violent. Man, weakness is a weird thing. It really is. A weird thing. I don't get it. I don't. I don't get the pseudo-intellectualism. I'm just not the guy for it. Other people might be totally down for that. Hold on. Did I just see a comment that says calling 911 is weakness leaving the body? When seconds count, the police are only minutes away. Right. The two guys getting attacked should have called 911 and waited while the three other guys punched them in the face. You cannot make this up. You cannot make up the absolute ignorance that some people have. Spectacular. Let's see, where is... They don't have the story. So the New York Times has a story that the U.S. is at fault in the strike on the school in Iran, according to a preliminary inquiry. But nobody else has the story. And it's the New York Times, so I don't know how large of a grain of salt I'm going to need, but I'm going to assume that it's a pretty large grain of salt. By the way, the U.S. could very well be responsible for this. Bad data? Absolutely. 10,000%. What was that, producer Landon? Okay. But preliminary data? You're just rushing the story out there? What is the preliminary data? Where does it come from? Now, I haven't read the story yet, right? So that's only the headline. But I was just looking around to see if anybody else had the story. And I haven't seen it. I don't even have it on the Washington Post page. I find that interesting. Now, maybe tomorrow will change things, but right now I don't see it anywhere else. Over there at CNN, and you've seen a lot of people talking about this in your social media feeds, you have Abby Phillip, who runs that struggle session show over there, making statements like this.
Two Republicans say Muslims don't belong here after an attempted terror attack against New York's Mayor Zohran Mamdani, and the House Speaker Mike Johnson says nothing really to condemn those comments.
Now, you can say that members of Congress are wrong about saying that about Muslims. Tony Katz today, go right ahead. But what in the world is Abby Phillip of CNN saying here?
Two Republicans say Muslims don't belong here after an attempted terror attack against New York's Mayor Zohran Mamdani, and the House Speaker.
Whoa. There was no terrorist attack against Zoran Mamdani. It was a terrorist attack from two guys inspired by ISIS who pledged their fealty to ISIS, who built an IED and threw it at protesters, threw it at Americans. It doesn't matter how disgusting or despicable they are or how wonderful they are, whether you agree or disagree with them. None of that matters. What matters is they threw it at Americans, trying to kill Americans. This wasn't about Mamdani at all. Why would Abby Phillips say that? And she puts out a statement on Twitter X. I want to correct something I said last night. The bombs thrown in New York City over the weekend by ISIS-inspired attackers was thrown into a crowd of anti-Muslim protesters and not specifically targeted at Mayor Mamdani. That wording was inaccurate. I didn't catch it ahead of time. I apologize for the error. First, you said one thing on cable news and something else on social media. How many people heard the social media thing? Secondly, it wasn't not specifically at Mayor Mamdani. It was not about Mayor Mamdani. So she lied on TV and then lied in her apology, her correction. Hey, Tony, how come people don't trust mainstream media? Oh, I don't know. Ask Abby Phillip. This is Tony Katz today. Good Lord. Good Lord, is that something? Guys, I appreciate you quite a bit. The radio show continues at WIBC.com, my conversation with Noah Rothman, where we get into this idea of, do Republicans want to lose? Like, do they have a problem with winning? Do they have a real problem with winning? I say yes, and we get deep into it. What's really going on in Iran, where the victory is coming from. What does victory actually mean? What does it mean to complete the job? And what you're hearing from the social media folk, the Groyper loser class, that is not reality. And the polling shows it's not where reality is, especially around MAGA, which is really interesting because sometimes I'll fall into that trap and say MAGAville may be upset with this. Turns out not so much. MAGA is more with me. It's this other thing. And exactly how popular is this and how damaging is it? I would argue that the Groyper class gets views. The Groyper class gets views. But is it changing minds in the halls of Congress? That's my concern. And so we get into it, myself and Noah Rothman. So go to WIBC.com and listen live to the show, or listen there at your local radio station. Look forward to having some announcements about some other radio things coming up soon. I appreciate you guys, even the trolls. You're doing great work. Fantastic. Guys, you are appreciated so very, very much. Thank you for being here. I'll back tomorrow at noon. So tune in then, if you would. And don't forget to go to TonyKatz.com and subscribe. I'll catch you then.